Hello and welcome to another tutorial on how to make a belt bag. For this belt bag I am using this button. You'll see that it does have a shank on the back. We will use this to place this in our closure. For decoration I'm using the size 6 beads. I'm only displaying a few of them, but I will use quite a few for the front of the bag. You'll see here I also have some embroidery floss that matches the color of my beads, which are a copper color. I know the camera is not really showing it, but this color goes very well with this button. You'll also see here that I have a beading needle. I will be using some of the embroidery floss that will fit through the eye of the needle, so we will be sewing the beads on. We will not be including them on our yarn. I also have a pair of scissors, and the hook that I'm using is a size K or a 10.5 millimeter. The yarn that I use is from Red Heart. It is a Super Saver, and the color is blue. Before we begin, we're going to double our yarn. So I will take the one from the center and the one from the outside. I will take them and join them together. And since I already have it ready for you, I'm turning it into a ball. It makes it easier to use the two together that way, and so our yarn is doubled using this size crochet hook. Before we begin, I always like to encourage you to pull a little bit of yarn out so you don't have your ball flying all over the place as you're crocheting along. Makes it easier that way. So with a small tail, let's go ahead and place a slip knot on our hook, and we're going to start with a chain of 15. 1, 2, 3, 4, continue on until you get to 15. After you have 15, we're going to skip one chain. This does not mean we skip the one on the hook. We skip the first one that is completed. So into the second chain, we're going to make a single crochet. And continue with your single crochet all the way down until you get to the last one. At the end, you should have 14 single crochets. So now in this last one, I would like for you to place 2 more single crochets. And at this time you can also take your tail and bring it down along the edge, because we will be crocheting that in as well. So here is 1, and here is 2. Okay, notice how it went and curved around on us. So in our next stitch, and bring your tail with you, go ahead and place another single crochet, and we're going to go right down on the other side using the chain, what's left of it. Oops, try not to snag it like I just did. And when you get down here to this end, go ahead and stop. So you'll see here that we do have that one there. Okay, just before our chain. Go ahead and place one more in that last one, and then to tie it all together we're going to place one single crochet in that chain space. Okay, and in our next single crochet, you can tell this is the first one that we did. We're going to place two in that space, and that'll help finalize that curve that we are looking for right here. Okay. Continue on with your single crochets for the next 13 stitches. That'll take you down to this corner right here. Now I notice that as we're doing this it's curling just a little bit. It's okay. Do not worry about that. Alright, so here we are down at that last one for the 13. Now in that last one, that is number 13, go ahead and place one more single crochet in that space. In your next stitch, place two single crochets in that space, and in the next one we'll see if we need two. Yep, we need two. Okay, so we added 6 around, so 2 in each one of these stitches. Now we're going to continue down to this down here, and we will continue with our single crochets, so I'll meet you there. As we approach this curve, we're going to place one more single crochet in that last stitch we just did. In our next one, place 2. In our next one, place 2. Alright, so we have our nice little curve here. And in our next stitch, we will place a single crochet, a slip stitch. Okay? So this completes our bottom of our little belt bag. Let's go ahead and chain 1, and we will be working in the back loops of all our stitches this row. So this one that we did right here already has our slip stitch in it, so we will go to the next one and place a single crochet, and in the next stitch, all working in the back loops. Continue all the way around in each stitch, and I will meet you back over here and show you how to close it off. After you get around, you'll notice that we do have one last stitch here, and then you want to go ahead and slip stitch into the top of that single crochet. Alright, so we have a nice little round pouch here. That's our base with one little ridge. Go ahead and chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and let's get ready to start our next row. So let's start making our star stitch. With your finger on top of your loop on the hook, yarn over, and in the second chain, insert your hook and bring up a loop. You want to stretch that loop out just a little bit. Mine is about 3/4 of an inch long. Place your finger back on the top and yarn over. the second place of the 3 places that we will insert for our star is right here where we did the slip stitch. And we're going to draw up a loop, and we want that loop to be just as long as the other ones. So yarn over again, and for our 3rd place we're going to skip the next stitch, and in the following stitch we'll go ahead and insert our hook and draw up a loop. Now before we move on, take your middle finger, or I usually, because my fingernails are long enough, I stick it there. Place it in between so that you can use the back half of this to insert the hook so we can make a slip stitch. So I'm going to place my finger here. I'm going to go yarn over on my working yarn, and I'm aiming my hook down, and then I'm going to pull it up and go through all those loops. Now because I was going so slow, I had to use my thumb to help. So okay, and so here with this one that our finger was holding back, insert your hook into that loop, and that'll help hold all of these loops that were on our hook together. Now we're going to go over our working yarn and go through that loop and through the last loop on our hook and complete that slip stitch. Okay, so here's the first half of our star. To complete our star, it will actually be in the 2nd row. Okay, so we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to repeat what we just did. Now if you find that your yarn is a little loose, once you get the hang of it, I would say take it out, because you want your stitches to all be pretty well uniform. Now our next places that we are going to stick our hook, I'm going to show you the 3 locations. The first one will be right here under that chain, so there's a hole right here at the top of the star. The second one will be right here where we placed, after we skipped the stitch, we placed our last yarn over right here, so this will be our 2nd place. We're going to skip a stitch, and here's our 3rd spot. Alright, so yarn over into the hole in the center of the star, drop a loop, yarn over, we're going into spot number 2, bring up some yarn, yarn over, skip, and in the 2nd stitch, yarn over, bring up a loop. Okay, then place your finger in here between the last set here and pull through all of those stitches, and then take your hook and go back through that loop and make a slip stitch. So you're going to bring that working yarn through and then through the loop on your hook. And there we've completed 2 first halves of the star. I'm going to show you one more time, and then we're going to go ahead and have you go all the way around until you reach this area here, and I'll show you how to finish it for this particular row, because after we do this row it's basically going to be a continuous spiral for the next few rows. Alright, so remember we have, oh here, let's chain 1 first. That'll be our first step. And then we have point 1, which is the top center of the star. Point 2 is where that last leg went in. Point 3 is where you skip and then in the next stitch. Okay, so yarn over, remember to hold your yarns down, and through that hole in the center, bring up a loop, make sure you got your loop, yarn over, we're going to go through point 2 and bring up a loop, yarn over, skip, and in the next stitch, okay, So you have all these loops on your hook. Now take your finger, place it between your loops and your working yarn, yarn over and through all of those loops, and then now you're going to go where your finger was, and you take your working yarn and go through that loop and through the loop that was on your hook, and then chain one. Okay? So here we have 3 half of the stars so far. So continue on around, and I will meet you in this area right here. As you go around the corner, remember to keep skipping the stitches so that you can do your star. It doesn't have to be because you're going around a corner where you don't skip it. Remember to skip it as well. So what I'm showing you here is that I have, here's the last part of that stitch. I have one, and then this is part of the chain, and then over here. What I want to point out to you is if you have 2 stitches left, or even 1 stitch, we will still make it work. Okay? Because we want it to be balanced. Let's see. So, yarn over. We're going to go through the center, drop a loop, yarn over through that last part of the leg. Okay, and drop a loop, yarn over. Now, I'm going to take it all the way over here to this stitch right here. This is where my star began. I want it to look balanced on that first row, so I will skip this one, and this is part of that chain, but I will skip that one as well. So I'm going to go all the way over and drop my loop. Oops, I forgot. I don't know what I was thinking. Okay, and then bring it all through, and then do the slip stitch. Okay, and that, chain one, and that completes row 1, and it's so nice and cushiony. Now you know these little belt bags, I do it within mine mostly for the protection of a cell phone, and that's the reason why I encourage the heavier weight yarn or the more cushiony. Okay, so our next part of the stitching for beginning of row 2 will consist of yarn over. We're going to go through the center. We're going to pull up a loop. Okay, then we're going to yarn over again, but this time we're going to come over here where this stitch is at. So we're going to come into here and draw up a loop, yarn over, and then we're going to go to the center of that first one we did on the row and draw up a loop. Okay? Now with all these loops on your hook, yarn over, and you're going to go through all of those loops. And remember, you have to keep your finger there, bring up that one loop there. We're going to complete our slip stitch and chain 1. And you'll notice how it's going to start pulling us over here to the next row. Alright? Now this is where you're going to start seeing the actual star take place. Okay, so let's continue on. Yarn over through the center, bring up a loop, yarn over. We're going to go through the center of this star, draw up a loop, yarn over, and we're going to go through the center of the next star. Okay, so that's our 3 points. We're going to place our finger there, go through all of those loops on the hook, and go through and bring our working yarn to complete a slip stitch and chain 1. I'd like for you to take a look back Okay, can you see your star here? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Alright, let's do our next one, because we're going to be doing the same thing. And this is where you're going to be doing this continuously. I'm going to show you 2 more times, and you will do this for a number of rows, and then I'll show you how to finish it so that we can put our button and stuff on. So, yarn over, we're going to go through the center, bring up a loop, yarn over, we're going to go through the center of the star, and pull up a loop, yarn over, we're going to go through the center of the next star. Okay, now place your finger in between the loops in the working yarn and then pull it through, and then put your hook in between, and complete your slip stitch, chain 1. You can start to see the balanced results here. So one more time, yarn over through the center of that star, the first one, yarn over through the center of the star right below, yarn over through the next star over. Okay, place your finger in between, draw up your loop, and then complete your slip stitch, chain 1. Okay, since I'm in the process of making this for my cell phone, and I have a Samsung Note 8, currently I really don't know how many rows that we're going to need. So as you watch the video, I will inform you. You'll also notice too that here's row 1. You can see the definite difference, and here is row 2. So let's continue on, and as you watch the video, you'll be able to know how many rows I have done to make this belt bag for you. Isn't this pretty? Now I wanted to show you how to count the rows. You'll notice how these look like V's, and then you'll see like a line, and then you'll see another V, and you'll see a line. Okay, so I've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, now where we began, you can see right here how it has a little change. Also, you want to turn to the other side and make sure that you have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 rows. Okay, so that way you know for sure that you have it. Now my stopping is right here in the middle. Okay, so when I fold it, you can see that little dip a little bit. I think it's because it's not level. There. Anyway, you can see that I have the even amount of rows here. So we're going to start preparing for our closure. So after the 5 rows of doing the stars, and we're stopping here, you can see my little corner right here. We're going to go straight up. I finished the last one. So now I'm going to take, I chained 1. I'm going to come over here into this space here and do a slip stitch. And that's going to finish off the stars. So let's continue on. Chain 1. Now this is where it's going to get very simple. Our repeat will be in the center of the star, place a single crochet, and in the chain between the two stars place a single crochet. So there's the chain, and there's the center of the star again. Right? And here's the chain, and the center of the star. Continue that all the way around, and I'll meet you back here where we chained one and started our single crochet row. As you come up to the chain one right here and our first single crochet, just continue around. Do this for 2 more rows, and I will show you how to make the opening for the closure, which will be located right here in the center. As you can see here, I have completed 3 rows of single crochet on both sides, and I have stopped on the side where it all began. So this section right here is going to get the opening that we need. So what we'd like to do is take your bag and fold it so that you have your line here, and make it so that it's flat. Take the button that you have chosen and place it where it looks like it's going to be center. And I see mine will be here and here. So that means that I will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 chains that I will want to do to have my opening large enough for my button here. So I'm going to come and do a single crochet up to this point, and then I will chain 5 and then single crochet around until I get back to this point again. And at that time we'll go ahead and complete 2 or 3 more rows needed for the width of the button so that it sits center in the single crochets. So this is my last single crochet. I'm going to need 5 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to mess with this for a little bit to make sure that I got the right. Yeah, I'm going to need 5. Okay, 1 more. So that means I need to skip 1, 2, 3, 4, and right here in the 5th one I'll place my single crochet. Okay, see how they all line up? Okay, so we're going to go ahead and continue around. As I've placed my button here, I see how the 3 rows here is ample enough, so I'm going to do 3 rows of single crochet on top, and when I stop I will make sure that I have the same amount of rows here as I do here on the back. I will stop here on the side, and I'll show you when I get to that point. So here you can see I finished on the side with the single crochet and 2 slip stitches in the next 2 stitches. I'll be taking this and weaving it on the inside here. So the next thing to do is line up your ends, place your bag in the fold, find out where it goes, and then sew your button on. Okay? So, since this is a belt bag, let me show you how to do a strap. We're going to be making 2 of them, and it will go on the back side here. So let's go ahead and make the straps for the back of our bag. Start with a long tail. We will use that to sew on. Also, I wanted to point out that our straps on the back are optional in case you choose to make this little bag into a shoulder purse or even a makeup bag. So with a slip knot on our hook, let's chain 7. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You'll notice that I am continuing on using the 2 strands of yarn. So in our second chain from the hook, place 1 single or half double crochet, and in the rest a half double crochet. So we will have a total of 6 half double crochets. I had some strawberries today. They were so good. I hope you're enjoying the seasonal fruit as well. Oh, come on now. Trying to get in between the chain or the 2 loops. Always on film. Always. Oh, let's try it again. Sorry. Okay, there we go. Now chain 2, turn your work, and we will continue with our half double crochets. We will place 6 of them on this side, and when we get to the end, we are finished. All right. Okay. And make sure you leave a long tail for sewing on. So how convenient is that to have one on one side and one on the other? So this is our little belt loop. Mine equals maybe 2.5, 3 inches long. So the placement, remember, our hole opening is our front, so we want to flip it over to the back, and we're going to place it up here towards the top. You don't want to place it on the very top row. We're going to place it on the next row down and fold it up just a little bit, and then place it on the bottom row of the single crochets. And that's so that your belt will have a little bit of ease to go through here. So to sew these on, I'm using a tapestry needle, which I forgot to tell you about in the instructions. So we want this folded, so bring it over approximately 1 inch from the edge, and then with the 1 layer, when you make your first one right here at the edge, go ahead and do that twice, so that way you'll know it'll be on there nice and snug. And then just do like a little whip stitch. Boy, I'm having fun today. Okay, so I'm going to have to go sorry about this. I'm going to have to go in and out for some reason. And when you get to the other side, make sure that you do it twice as well. So there's 1, and then going down will be like 2. Okay? And what I like to do is on the inside, at the bottom of the stitch, go ahead and weave in a couple of stitches, pull it through. Okay, now on the way back, go over this first one and that'll hold it right there. Okay? So as part of the final part of our little bag here is to sew on our beads. since I have embroidery floss, I did want to show you, you want to separate it into 3 strands so that you can sew your beads on. Here I have my storage of beads. I'm planning on using these copper ones right here. So what we're going to do is I'm only going to be placing the beads here on the front, and I'm going to pick random centers of these stars to kind of help them pop out a little bit. So I wanted to show you how to place it on. So place a knot in the end of your thread, and I'm going to start up here at this one. So take your needle and go through the back of the stitch a couple of times. Oops, I'm out of camera range, sorry about that. Go through it a couple of times on the back, and this will help you to get it started. And then, bring it forward so that you're on one side of that circle in the center. Can you see my needle popping up there? Right here. Make sure your thread comes all the way to the end, and then place your bead on, and then go over to the other side and then come back. You want to go through your beads at least twice to kind of help guarantee that they're not going to fall off. Okay, and then this one I'm going to go down and inside the bag, and I wanted to show you how to go on to the next one. You can see how the bead adds a little accent to the star. So to move on to the next star, you want to go in and out of the yarns. Okay, you don't want it so that you're just bouncing from one to another. You want to weave in and out till you decide where you want to place your next bead at, which I'm going to place mine right here. So I didn't use the next hole, I went the one after it. Okay, and then as before, I'm going to take a bead and I'm going to go through this twice. Okay, so I'm going to stop right there, and I will show you a completed picture when I am finished. Otherwise, this finishes my tutorial on how to do this belt bag. I hope you enjoy it. I enjoyed having you here with me and making it. And I hope you come back again and join me in another crochet tutorial.